Good evening. One of the most extraordinary things about all miscarriages of justice is how long it takes to sort them out. And of course, I'm talking about the sub-postmasters scandal, and I'm talking about the fact that the whistle was actually blown as long ago as 2009. Yes, back in 2009, some serious doubts were put into the public's mind, into Parliament's mind, that actually the Horizon computer system wasn't actually working and that innocent people were being convicted. And yet, despite that, despite quite a lot of publicity at the time, the prosecutions kept on coming up until 2015. 736 people were convicted of taking money from the post office. And it's an awful scandal. 4 that we know of have taken their lives. Many other people's lives were ruined. It looks to be the single biggest miscarriage of justice in British judicial history. And the odd thing is that whilst this story has kept on rumbling, I didn't see any of it as an MEP. It wasn't deemed to be a European issue, and indeed it wasn't. But suddenly MPs are coming out of the woodwork saying, yes, we had people in our constituency coming on to us complaining. And yet it takes a docudrama on ITV to reignite public debate in it. Well, all I can say to that is better late than never. Now, a huge amount of media attention has been focusing on the leader of the Liberal Democrats, Sir Ed Davey, because he was the competent minister from 2010 when the scandal was at its height. But I raised a little question this morning. You know, when Keir Starmer, or should I say Sir Keir Starmer, because of course he was knighted for the 5 years that he acted as Director of Public Prosecutions, virtually every week Starmer boasts to us about his time at the DPP and the job that he did. But I asked a question this morning on social media, which was, why we're not discussing Keir Starmer's role in this. Why do I say that? Well, because, quite simply, the Prosecution of Offences Act, which came in 1985, allowed private prosecutions. And what the Post Office did in every single one of these cases is they were able to bypass the police, they were able to bypass the Crown Prosecution Service and bring private prosecutions. But the Director of Public Prosecutions, the DPP, which Starmer did, I repeat, from 2008 until 2013, has power under Section 6.2 of the Act to take over private prosecutions. So actually, Starmer had the power to take over these prosecutions, or indeed to say enough. And it's impossible to believe, given the hundreds of prosecutions that were happening, given the media commentary that was taking place at the time, that he wasn't aware of it. I'm not actually accusing him of anything. I'm just asking why, as DPP, he didn't ask questions, he didn't intervene. And I'd like to know from MPs, did they at the time write to Starmer when he was the DPP? And maybe some of this stuff will start to come out over the next few days. Of course, as usual, whenever I say anything, it must be wrong. And everyone said I was wrong, including Twitter, or X as they're now called, who put up a community notice to say, beware of what I've said. Well, you might actually notice now, if you look at X, that community notice has been taken down. And a man called John Hyde, he replied that I was wrong. Funny enough, he's wrong. He's the deputy news editor for the Law Society magazine. He says in his bio, we should all try to be as nice as we can, if possible. He hit back at me, and he's now had to admit he was wrong. Starmer, as DPP, could potentially have played a role in all of this. Now, the big question, I think, is what next? And given that it's taken us many, many years to get to this point, I guess we have to ask ourselves a question. Should all the convictions be overturned? Now, normally, I wouldn't support such a proposition. I'd say that it's wrong to blanket say everybody's guilty or everybody's innocent. But given the passage of time and given the age of many of these people, for them to actually physically be able to face going through their own appeals would be off-putting to many. And frankly, if we go through that process, many would have died or by that stage be incapacitated through age. So for once, I think actually we should say that everybody that was convicted in the Horizon scandal has been exonerated, even if there were, amongst the 736, one or two bad apples. That's my take. That's my view. Let me know what you think. Farage@gbnews.com. Now, a couple of years ago, Nick Wallace wrote a book, The Great Post Office Scandal. As a result of it, the Horizon Scandal Fund was set up. And I'm joined by trustee Helen Lacey this evening and by fellow trustee David Chaplin. Helen, all of this was written a couple of years ago. Are you frustrated how long this has all taken?
Oh, I'm terribly frustrated, absolutely. I mean, 3 years ago we spoke to Nick and he mentioned writing this book. We published it in November 2021 and it's taken until the ITV drama to really get it into the public arena, which I think is really, very, very disappointing for the sub-postmasters that are still waiting for money.
But it is better late than never, isn't it?
Well, 25 years for some people, it's a long time.
But I mean, you're in the studio talking about it.
Yeah.
As we speak, the House of Commons is debating it. Yes, it may have taken an ITV drama, but what do we do? How do we get justice for these people?
Well, I mean, we're trustees of the Horizon Scandal Fund, and what we do is we support sub-postmasters with, I'm hoping, stopgap money. This is what it was designed to do. This is why we set it up in the first place. We were thinking that the Horizon Scandal Fund would only last for a year or two, maybe, and it's now 2 years, and there's still no sign that they're going to get proper compensation. So this stopgap has not been a stopgap. I mean, this is now really helping or trying to help sub-postmasters that really deserve better compensation and proper compensation from the Post Office and the government.
And a lot of them have been literally financially ruined by this.
Absolutely ruined. I mean, only this week we've had several applications, people being threatened with eviction. We've paid their rent to stop them being evicted. We've got people that need counselling, desperately need counselling because they're absolutely traumatised. The list goes on. I mean, we've helped in so many ways.
Yeah, and of course they're sort of, in a way, they're pillars of the local community, aren't they?
Absolutely.
They're trusted figures that people of all ages go to. So for them, the public humiliation of all of this.
Totally humiliated. And really what I want to say as well is that a lot of people are not coming forward for compensation. They're not coming forward to have their convictions quashed because they are absolutely traumatised and they just do not want to reopen those wounds.
Yeah, they can't face going through it.
They can't. And they're also not coming to the charity sometimes because I know that they are proud people and they just don't want to reopen those wounds. And we completely understand that. So I would implore anyone listening that needs help to approach us at the Horizon Scandal Fund, say what your story is in a very, very short way. I'm not saying you've got to fill in a lengthy form or anything like that, but please come forward.
And will you respect their confidentiality?
Absolutely.
Because
completely.
That's key, isn't it?
Yes, we've already helped about 35 people, but my take is we shouldn't be helping. We shouldn't need the charity. The government and the Post Office should be compensating them properly now.
Well, they're going to have to be pushed a bit further before they do it. And David Chaplin, I mean, as I say, thinking about this and thinking what can be done and given that passage of time with many people that we just talked about, is the blanket exoneration the way forward with this?
Well, there's a couple of things about the blanket exoneration. One is obviously, yes, we want them to be their names to be cleared.
Yeah.
And we've always said it's better that one guilty person goes free than
hundreds.
Are convicted when they are innocent. So that's one way forward. Which ironically we had a discussion between the trustees today would result in all of those people getting £600,000 because that's what the government has offered And we must make this clear, and I don't think Rishi Sunak's made this clear yet, is that the £600,000 they've been offered is a final payment. People keep referring it in government to an interim payment, which it isn't. If you accept the £600,000, but you think you're owed more, which many of them should get, they won't get any. Why shouldn't they? Because their lives have been completely ruined for 25 years. They've lost their house, they've lost their dignity, and they've lost their opportunity to earn. So I think if you lost your opportunity to earn for 25 years, Nigel, I think you'd be looking for more than £600,000, wouldn't you?
No, I get that.
Yeah.
I get that.
That's why they should be getting their money now. So our biggest thing, though, as the fund, as Helen said, we're there to stopgap while people haven't got money. So overturning the convictions, if it did result in this rather unintended consequence of £600,000 of them all straight away, may be one way of going, but it would have to be an interim payment. But the other thing is, it might just... The more important thing is making sure they get recompense. They want justice as well, but they want justice and recompense. Some may not. Some may just want to be able to draw a line under this whole episode, which is, is absolutely their choice. But the key thing is also to get them that compensation, as well as getting their names cleared.
How long, Helen, before Number 10 call you in, do you think? How long before the Prime Minister calls you in and resolves this? Do you feel that you're now winning?
I really do hope so. I really do hope so. But as I said before, I can't believe it takes the ITV drama to get this out.
Well,
I mean, all the MPs are now jumping up and down, but they've known about it for a long, long time, 15 years. Nick Wallace has been reporting on this since 2010, as have people like Tom Witherow from The Times, as has Carl Flinders from Computer Weekly. This has been going on for a long, long time.
And Private Eye, of course.
And Private Eye, of course, yes, sorry, I forgot about Private Eye.
Private Eye do deserve a mention in dispatches here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they do.
But the MPs, they've all known about this for ages. And I can't believe, the publicity this has had over the last week, which is brilliant. I'm not knocking it. Please don't get me wrong. But it should have happened ages ago. And, and they're now all getting on the bandwagon, and saying, oh, yes, we need to do something about it. But why didn't they do it ages ago?
Helen, I understand your frustration with the whole system. David, I take your point that lives have been ruined for up to a quarter of a century. Well done for what you've done. You've been absolutely in the right place. I think you are beginning to win. I don't think it'll happen overnight, but I think you are actually going to win. I think there is a moral case here that is absolutely overwhelming. And there are people in very powerful senior positions very, very worried, but they can't stop this tide. It's heading in the right direction at very long last.